Shift your identity and watch your entire life change. Our identity creates our reality. In this video, I'm going to show you how to shift your identity, reinvent yourself, and completely transform your life for 2025. Everyone says new year, new me, but let's be honest, most of you are going to live the exact same year if you do not change this one thing. If there is a gap between where you are and where you desire to be, it's rooted in the identity that you're holding on to. As someone who used to be introverted, hiding in the background, completely unclear of the value that I have to bring to this world, I can tell you that shifting my identity is the reason why I'm a full-time business owner. It is how I was able to go from feeling stuck and tired of living the same year after year, to excited and fully aligned. If you're ready for the biggest up level of your life, this video is for you. I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process with real examples and actually show you how I completely transform myself by shifting my identity. If you're new here, I'm Natanya Bravo, and I am obsessed with helping you step into the life that is literally waiting for you. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and let's get into it. Something a lot of us know but don't like to talk about is that one day we are all going to die. None of us are promised tomorrow. And that urgency is what initially inspired me to stop living my life on autopilot and becoming a conscious creator of the intentional life I desire to live for as long as I have time here. We don't have to wait until we have some life-altering diagnosis or illness to decide to completely shift the way we've been showing up in the world. Your identity has a direct correlation to the results you're currently experiencing in your life. The self-held identity that we hold on to really creates our reality. Some of you may be familiar with Robert Dill's pyramid of change. We've got identity at the top, so who am I? Followed by our values and beliefs. So what do we hold to be true? This is our worldview, how we see ourselves, how we see others, our skills and potential. So what we're capable of, the knowledge that we have, our behavior and our actions. So our habits, the things that we do, and our environments. So the physical and emotional spaces that we put ourselves in. The way that most people go about change, every new year, we write this long list of New Year's resolutions saying, I'm going to go work out in the gym, and I'm going to finally start my business, and I'm going to take this hobby more seriously. It lasts for a few weeks, and then guess what? We're over it. We're back to doing exactly what it is that we've always done. Why is that? Because most people are operating from these lower levels of the pyramid. So they're thinking that by changing their habits, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, or I'm going to eat more healthy, or by changing their environment, i.e., I'm going to sign up for a co-working space, or I'm going to join a networking group, that their life is going to change. And it's simply not, because you're walking into those spaces, you're trying to take on those habits from an old identity that cannot go with you there. Let me give you a really simple example. I used to call myself an introvert and extremely shy. Yet I had this dream of impacting people online, of starting my own business. And so what would happen every time that I finally said, okay, I'm finally going to get serious. I'm going to start my YouTube channel, or I'm going to start my blog, or I'm going to put myself at networking events. Well, the identity was still, I'm an introvert and very shy. I'm going into those spaces holding that identity that cannot show up in those spaces, because if my identity is I am shy, then the belief that I hold about myself is that I stay in the background. I do not speak up. I do not go and introduce myself to people. And so no matter how much I tried to change my environment or the habits that I would take on, it would be very short-lived, because at the core of this change that I was attempting was an old identity that honestly needed to die. Similarly, I used to say I'm not athletic, but I had this goal of becoming a runner. I would sign up for these 5Ks. I would tell myself I'm going to go running 3 times a week, and I'd keep it up for a month, maybe 2. And then guess what? I would fall back into the habits that represented the identity of I am not a runner. What if we flip this upside down and actually show the weight of what is most important when we're wanting to make a change? To be able to shift this identity, we first need to get clear on what is the identity we've been holding on to. And again, I'm not talking about the roles or the titles that you hold. Who are you when all of those go away? I took myself through a series of prompts to really get clear on the identity that I was holding. First being, what is the I am story that you've been telling yourself that cannot come with you to your next level? So I am shy. I let that go. I no longer identify with that story because really that was just an excuse for me to be able to hide in the background and not take up too much space. Number two, what are the beliefs you've been holding on to that cannot come with you to your next level? Me believing that I have nothing of value to share or that someone else is doing it better than me, that can't go with me where I'm going. But again, this step is so important because we've got to be uncomfortably honest about what's true for us today so that we can rewrite that story. And then, how have you been viewing your potential or what you're capable of right now or in the future? We'll often say, well, I'm just not tech savvy. And yet, you want to grow a business that requires some tech savviness. That can't go with you where you're going. So we've got to be clear on where we're limiting ourselves in terms of our skills and potential. And then what are the actions, habits, and behaviors that I've allowed to carry on for far too long? If I have a habit that when I walk into a networking event, I stay against the wall and wait for other people to come up with to me, that's not going to work any longer. I'm wanting to grow a full-time thriving business. I can no longer continue that type of behavior. And lastly, what environments, physical, mental, emotional, or otherwise, have you been afraid to leave or change due to comfort? It's very easy to get comfortable. And yet, if I am wanting to completely change my life, I have got to be prepared to leave some things behind and step into something wildly uncomfortable. Step one, we want to get clear on the old identity. And I'm saying old because as of this video, it is now your old identity. We are releasing that. We're letting it go. It's done. It's gone. And then we're going to flip this pyramid upside down and we're going to change the order so that we can actually affect change from the identity level because that's where it all starts. Starting from identity, what is the I am story that the me that's already done it, has already accomplished everything I desire to do, be, and have is telling? What is that I am story? I am capable. I am valued. I am worthy. What beliefs does the you that's already done it hold about yourself, about the world? I believe that there are people that need and want exactly what I have to share. I believe that my work is of high value. I believe that I'm capable of doing things I've never done before. What do you know about what you're capable of right now or in the future? I am a skilled communicator. I am a quick learner. And then what actions, habits, or behaviors will you embody from this day forward? And lastly, what are the environments that serve this version of you emotionally, mentally, physically, or otherwise? What are the spaces that I show up best in where I am fully expressed as my full self? If you want to make real change, you have to shift from the identity level. Trying to simply shift your habits or your environment or get more skills and learn more is a temporary fix that will ultimately lead you exactly where you started. And that is how people live the same year after year after year. To give a really simple example, if I wanted to stop eating sugar and I'm at a restaurant and the waiter comes over and says, "Would you like the dessert menu?" Someone that is trying to make that change of not eating sugar or reducing sugar would take the dessert menu and look at it and then battle inside and say, "Okay, no, I won't take it." Someone whose identity is I don't eat sugar would say, "No, I do not want the dessert menu. Why would I? That's not even part of my identity. I could not imagine." So this is a really simple example, but you can apply this to anything. If one of my identities is that I'm a full-time business owner whose work is of value and has something really important to say, well, now if I'm working from that identity and my old identity used to procrastinate, used to not take things seriously, would delay, putting things out there. That doesn't align with this identity of I am a full-time entrepreneur whose work is of high value and has something important to say. I'm not going to procrastinate because I believe that my work is as high value and I have something important to say. You can apply this to any area of your life and it will immediately weed out what you do and don't accept of other people, but more importantly, of yourself. Once you've gotten clear on the identity that you're holding from this point forward, we've got to anchor that in because our logical brain may have some resistance in accepting that because for potentially years, you've been running from an old identity. I just want to acknowledge for you that there might be a little bit of a grieving process. I did grieve the version of me that was shy and reserved because there was a part that felt safe and protected because I didn't have to be seen. As I started to put myself out there more, speak up more, take up more space, there was a lot of discomfort. Do I deserve to be able to take up space? Is this okay? Am I allowed to? Something that I find really helpful is a lot of the subconscious practices that I've shared in other videos, doing mirror work, visualization, affirmation. I would look in the mirror and be affirming to myself around my new identity, around my new values and beliefs that I was that person. I would listen to affirmations while driving, while sleeping, that affirmed that new version of myself. I would do scripting around that new version of myself and how I showed up in my days. I would lay down, close my eyes, and literally at different points in the day for even just a minute or two at a time, visualize that version of yourself going in the coffee shop, going into a networking event. Take yourself through the practice as living as that embodied identity so that it starts to actually become an embodiment of who you are. We've acknowledged and released the old identity. We have uncovered and affirmed the new identity. And now we've got to actually put it into practice. So, what does that look like? Taking up space. I am very big on who is she energy. And what that means for me is I want, whenever I walk into a space, whether that is at home with my husband or going into a restaurant, that there is an energy of who is that? I am energetically taking up space with my full self. I invite you to literally try on this identity, and some of it can be unspoken. I'll give you a quick example. I was having a date night with my husband and I was trying to decide between two dresses. One was a little bit more, hey, I'm here. And one was nice, simple, comfortable. But there was an inner part of me, that true identity that really wanted the dress that took up space. But there was an old identity that was still, oh no, that's too much. It's going to bring too much attention. And I decided to consciously quiet that part of the old identity. You no longer have space here and step into that new identity. That simple shift of choosing that dress changed how I walked into the room, how I ordered my food. After our dinner, we wanted to go grab drinks, and the restaurant we wanted to go to is extremely popular and it's reservation only. I walked up to the hostess and consciously put on my who is she identity and asked her, hey, we'd like to have a couple drinks. Is there somewhere we can sit? And first she said, oh no, we actually are reservation only. And someone else, a security guard working at the restaurant, came up and said, hey, is there a problem? And she was like, well, they want to sit down, but there's no space. And he was like, I got it. He literally moved tables, chairs, everything to get us a space to sit down. We were treated like kings and queens. We got comped dessert. And I don't believe that's a coincidence. There is an energy and aura when you are fully rooted and embodied in an identity that is the fullest expression of you. Try this on. And if it's a little uncomfortable to do this, maybe around people you know, go somewhere where no one knows you. Drive maybe 20, 30 minutes outside of where you live and go there for lunch or coffee by yourself and walk in with a new identity. And I promise you, the way that you show up, but more importantly, how the world reacts to you will completely shift. The second part of this embodiment is taking action. You have to take actions that are now aligned with this identity. If I am confident in my voice, know that my work is of high value, then I'm going to show up in my business that way. I was able to grow this YouTube channel extremely quickly. I've only been on here about 6 weeks now, and I think we're at almost 8,000 subscribers because of that identity. I am a YouTube content creator who has a community of people who value my video. who value what I have to share in my videos. That affects the habits, the actions that I take when I record, when I don't feel like it, the intention that when I put a video up and I believe that it's going to positively affect the life of someone watching it. You have to be willing to take the actions that are aligned. If I still had that I am shy identity, I would have spent years thinking about posting on YouTube and would have never done it. I would not have a full time business today because having a business where I am the face of my business doesn't align with being shy and hiding in the background and afraid to be seen. So we want to take up space with that new identity in small and big ways. Again, everything from how you show up at a social event to how you show up with your friends and family, which brings me to the next point. And I know sometimes people say, oh, don't say anything to everyone. And that's not really realistic, right? We do have to interact with the world, but I would encourage you to show more than you say. Instead of saying, hey guys, I'm going to try out doing this business thing, that doesn't mean anything. As opposed to when they start seeing that instead of going to dinner, you decided to work on your business, or that one time on YouTube, you've been doing it consistently for months. People then are much more likely to accept the identity change because you may get some resistance from people who have known you as an old identity for years and years. And that's normal. But what can we do? We can show with our actions much more than we can tell with our words. You also might have some resistance, right? It's one thing to go from I'm shy to I am now speaking in front of thousands of people. That's a pretty big jump. You may have to stair step your way there. Maybe I might go from I'm shy to I am finding my voice. And then I am finding new ways to share my voice. And then I enjoy sharing my voice with others. You see how I'm gradually stair stepping my way there so that I am not met with too much resistance and fear because, again, that old identity, there will be a little bit of a grieving process. There's a reason that you've held on to it for so long. It's likely kept you what feels like safe and comfortable. But there's so much magic waiting on the other side for you. Consistency. Like anything, you cannot just do this one time and think, hey, my life is going to change now. It is practice. Practicing this new identity, but not in a way that you're acting. You are literally embodying it in the way that you think about yourself, in the way that you view yourself in the world and other people, in the actions you take, in the environments that you choose or not choose to put yourself in. But again, it all has to start from identity. We cannot make changes on these other levels until we have made the most crucial change that will ultimately create the ripple effect. If this video was helpful, I would love to hear from you in the comments about what identity shift you are affirming for 2025. If you are ready to completely up-level in 2025, I am hosting an end-of-year workshop about the identity shift that you can make to step into your best year yet. This will be a small group interactive workshop where you will get a chance to both share with others and receive support and coaching from me. I'm going to drop the link in the description, and I would love nothing more than to see you there. And if you haven't yet, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I love reading all of your comments, and I cannot wait to see you on the next one.